Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Marty Ross, and this is another Conversations with Marty Ross MD tonight. For those of you that have been trying to watch my webinars the last few weeks, you know I've had some problems. 3 weeks ago, we had a technical crash of the system, and 2 weeks ago, I had a crash. I actually developed a pretty severe bacteria infection in my intestines, so I was in no shape to be here with you. So I apologize for both of those. We're using a new platform or a rebuilt platform for the webinars tonight, and I'm hoping that's going to deal and fix some of the problems we were having with the platform crashing during the webinar. So we'll see how that goes tonight. I've hardwired my computer into the internet a little stronger way, so I hope that's going to help. And my health is back to being really in good shape again, too. So anyhow, that's where we are. For those of you that are new to these webinars, the way that these webinars occur, you create them. And you create them with your questions. So the way to write a question to me is over here on the bottom of the screen, on the right-hand side, down there on the bottom, is a chat box. And you can write your question to me through there. The only thing I request is that when you write your question, do not hit the enter key until the whole question is done. Because each time you hit enter key, it sends a separate question my direction, which gets to be a little complicated from my side to handle things, okay? So that's my main request on that. The other thing, the format of these webinars, it doesn't work to write very, very long questions. I can't get into your whole health history here, for instance, okay? So please try to be briefer with your questions. And if you do write something too long, I'll let you know. I'll say, I can't answer it, it's just too long. So try to keep that in mind as we're doing this too. For those of you that are old and have been here before, or I'm sorry, returning, not old. For those of you that are returning, glad to see a number of new name or of regular names on my message board as to who's attending, and I'm glad to see a lot of new people here as well too. One of the things that we will wind up discussing tonight, I know, is coronavirus. And if I don't get a question about coronavirus, I will eventually describe to you what I am telling my patients here in Seattle, Washington, where we are having a coronavirus outbreak. Okay, so it's very current for me, and current because a lot of my Lyme patients have been asking me my opinion about what to do. And I'll be sharing that with you later in the webinar tonight too. I'll probably wait a little bit before we talk about it, see if we can get a few more people here that will want to hear that. And then finally, I am creating a recording of tonight's webinar. I will send that recording out to everyone tomorrow morning, somewhere between 9 and 9:30 in the morning, Pacific Standard Time, Seattle time. Okay, all right. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I do have the ability, at least I did have, yeah, I still have the ability. So I'm going to wind up showing your questions. For those of you that are participating in the live version of the webinar, you should be able to see the questions on your screen because I'll post them there, okay? However, those questions do not show up in the recorded version. And so for that reason, I'm going to read them so that those that are just watching this in recorded format can understand what we're talking about, all right? So here's the first question. It's from Kara. Let's see, how many rounds of the 3 days on, 11 days off would you do for Babesia? Why such a huge price difference between research nutritionals and allergy research? Artemesinin is the more expensive one, higher quality. Why do some sites say watch iron levels while on artemesinin? And can artemesinin calm long-term neurotoxicity? Is it possible to Herx on artemesinin? Finally, does Lyme cause sudden cramping and pain in the calf muscle? All right, let me try to talk about artemesinin. So in my opinion, I don't see any difference between the quality of the product with research nutritionals and allergy research. Why they have determined the prices I set are determined actually by the manufacturer. So in my supplement store, I have to put on there what their prices are. The other thing I would urge you to do, look at the quantity count of those bottles to see what you're getting, okay? So just read the back label or look at my site and see what the quantity count is. But either one of those is good brands when it comes to artemesinin. In terms of how long does it take generally to treat Babesia, whether you are treating herbally or whether you are treating with prescriptive medicines, generally it's 4 to 5 months to get Babesia under control, okay? And so, bear with me here just a minute, everyone. Got it. It generally is going to take 4 to 5 months total which means you're going to wind up doing 10 rounds of the 3 days on, 11 days off, okay? Now, why do I recommend artemesinin to be used 3 days in a row and 11 days off? The reason I recommend that is that the liver develops enzymes that can wind up deactivating, causing the artemesinin not to work well if you use it repeatedly. And the Chinese have found, and they're using it to treat malaria, that a frequency of 3 days on, 11 days off seems to work well. The days that you use it at an extremely high dose, okay? So for those of you that are not familiar, artemesinin is an herb that we use to treat malaria. And in the world of Lyme disease, we use it to treat one of the co-infections, which is called Babesia. Babesia is a parasite that gets inside red blood cells and acts a lot like malaria does, because malaria also is a parasite that gets inside our red blood cells. There are two major herbal options I like to use. One is cryptolepis, and the other one is artemesinin. I will tell you that in general, it seems that on the East Coast of the United States, artemesinin does not seem to work quite as well. Out here on the West Coast, when I'm treating people that acquired their Babesia out here, it still seems to be working well. I will at times use artemesinin as a solo agent to treat Babesia, and at other times I will wind up combining it with cryptolepis. Cryptolepis I would use as 5 milliliters 3 times a day. The artemesinin, I try to get an adult to gradually work up to taking 5 100 milligram pills 3 times a day for 3 days in a row and 11 days off. I will show you my article about how to treat Babesia that describes in detail how to use both of those herbs here in a second, okay? Why do people think that artemesinin causes neurotox, or that you need to watch iron levels? I don't know. I have looked at this extensively. I have never seen anyone develop low iron levels while they've been on artemesinin. It is true that artemesinin activates iron so that iron participates in some of the killing of Babesia, but artemesinin does not bind up iron. And so therefore there is no utility, no reason to check iron levels during a treatment with this. Finally, I have not seen artemesinin lead to long-term neurotoxicity, okay? And then I think one last question you have here, can you Herx on artemesinin? So when you kill Babesia, and so when you're using the artemesinin for those 3 days in a row, I often will see that people get more air hunger, maybe lower energy, and maybe get more night sweats through the 5th day after they start that first dose. So although they only take it for 3 days, I will see a worsening of symptoms at time that extend into the 5th day, okay? All right, and then I think the last question, does Lyme cause sudden cramping and pain in the calf muscle? It can. I have seen that happen before. All right. Very good. Good luck to you, Kara. Thank you for all those questions. Oh, let me do a quick screen share here, everyone. All right. So what I want to do here, this is, I'm going to show you my Lyme disease information site. This is Treat Lyme by Marty Ross MD. Okay. And if you're looking for information about how I treat different infections, how I kill them, take a look at this infection treatment plan section in my online Lyme guide. Here you'll find my Lyme disease antibiotic guide. You'll find information about how do you treat persister Lyme. But here's my article on how do you get rid of Babesia. It's called Kills Babesia, a Brief Guide. I break my treatments down into 3 different treatment tiers. All right. And so in tier 3, actually in tier 2, I should say, is artemesinin. I describe how to use it here. Okay. All right. Oh, and cryptolepis is in here as well too. All right. I hope that worked. I think it did work anyhow. All right. There we go. Thanks for that question, Kara. Hello, Bill. Let's see. Hello, Dr. Ross. How does Bartonella cause cardiac arrhythmias? Does it cause any permanent damage to the heart? Also, a UK physician claims 100% cure rate with gentamicin and doxy. Your thoughts? Thanks. I I haven't seen anything in any world give a 100% cure rate of anything. So I'm skeptical of that, okay? I have not seen that combination described as one that is useful. Maybe he is getting some benefit, but I would caution you, I've never seen anything work 100% time in this illness, no matter what a combination of antibiotics that somebody is using, okay? In terms of the heart and Bartonella, so Bartonella can infect nerves in the body, and therefore it could infect one of the nerves that determines how fast your heart races and the electrical signaling in the heart, and that's a nerve called the vagal nerve. The vagal nerve is your adrenaline, anti-adrenaline nerve, and Bartonella sometimes can lead to some dysfunction of that. I have not had in my experience anyone develop heart muscle problems or permanent heart injury from Bartonella. Okay. All right. Thanks for the question, Bill. Hello, Judy. Let's see. Judy says you forgot vitamin C and its value in killing viruses. I think Judy's referring to the article that I published this morning about what to do about coronavirus. Judy, that article was designed more at how do you prevent it and how do you boost your immune system to deal with it. There are actually no proven ways to treat this virus. And the other thing I would suggest to you is that although vitamin C in some people may help chronic viral infections, there are no studies that show that vitamin C helps acute viral infections, okay? In addition, when I have used high-dose vitamin C in my practice in the past to try to treat chronic virus infections, I got very mixed results. I do not actually consider it to be very useful. I know some providers use it for that. My clinical experience is that it does not work. What Judy is referring to is that vitamin C at high levels, meaning 30 grams to 50 grams a day. Okay, keep in mind your average over-the-counter pill is 1,000 gram or 1 gram. 1,000 milligrams, which is 1 gram. Okay, I'm talking 30 to 50 grams. When you use vitamin C that way, it has to be given in an IV form. And what it does is, even though vitamin C is a good antioxidant, when you use it at that amount, it triggers the production of a bunch of oxidizing agents, not antioxidants, but oxidizing agents in the blood. And those oxidizing agents can kill germs. At least that's in theory they can, okay? Frankly, I have always been disappointed by high-dose vitamin C, so I wouldn't hang my hat on it. But the other thing, Judy, again, we do not know what kills coronavirus. It's a new virus. And so I tried to stay with things that, so anyhow, and in addition, even known chronic viruses, I've never found this to be a useful treatment. Okay. All right. Thank you for raising that point, though. Mo says it's not working. Mo, I think you wrote that question before I actually turned the webinar completely on. So anyhow, there you go. All right, let's see. Hello, Lee. Let's see. I have previously taken Babesia herbs, Malarone, Biaxin, and Coartem, but nothing has helped with my night sweats. Babesia diagnosis not confirmed by labs. My doc wants me to try Malarone, Bactrim, Zithromax. I'm wondering if the Zithromax and Bactrim is necessary to make this regimen effective. I'm worried about ruining my gut health and putting my Lyme into persister form by taking antibiotics. Right now, I'm on a purely herbal protocol, but I also want to kill Babesia if I have it. Second question, what do Babesia night sweats look like? Are they always drenching? Do they come and go? Are they episodic or sporadic? Mine are linked up with my cycle, I think. Okay, so let me just talk about night sweats real quick, and then I want to talk about Babesia treatment. So night sweats are associated with Babesia, but not all night sweats mean you have Babesia. I want to be very clear about that, okay? For somebody to have Babesia, when I diagnose Babesia, even clinically, I want to see something else indicating Babesia besides night sweats, okay? So symptoms that can suggest night sweats are drenching night sweats, meaning you soak the bed night sweats, okay? In terms of how often they occur, they're usually going to be nightly or almost every night. And they are not going to tend to be episodic where you don't have them any like for 3 weeks and then suddenly before your period they come on, okay? Because Babesia infection is in you all the time. It's not going to cycle on there's no cycling to the Babesia growth cycle or the effects, basically. So generally, the sweats are going to be almost nightly. They can be soaking the bed. Sometimes people are just more damp and clammy. In addition to those, I'm going to want to see some other symptoms too if I'm going to make a clinical diagnosis. That means without laboratory support, okay? So the other things that I would consider are air hunger. Do you ever feel like you just can't get enough air from time to time, even when you're at rest, okay? Often people with Babesia will have anxiety or panic attacks. Babesia also can give some instability in the adrenaline, anti-adrenaline system, which will look like, which can cause periods of your heart racing all of a sudden. It can result in drops in your blood pressure when you stand up. So sometimes people, when they stand up with Babesia, will suddenly have big drops in their blood pressure. Babesia often can lead to headaches that are primarily headaches in the front of the head. And Babesia can lead to migraine headaches as well too, okay? Babesia also can give some pretty severe fatigue. But anyhow, I rarely would diagnose Babesia just on night sweats alone. And in addition, that pattern you're describing of primarily being a period-related set of night sweats does not fit the pattern I usually would treat for Babesia. Okay, I just want to say that, okay? All right. In terms of that, though, so I'm skeptical if you have Babesia for what you just described here, okay? But again, I don't get the possible, and I'm not able to ask you all the other questions that would help me determine that, okay? All right. In terms of treatments for Babesia, generally I try to use 2 different agents. However, if I get to a situation where 2 things are not working, I sometimes will use 3, all right? And in my practice, I have used that combination of Malarone, Bactrim, and Zithromax before, and I've had good success when other combinations are not working. So it is one that possibly could work for you as well too. Anyhow, I think that answers your question. All right. Good luck to you, Lee, and thank you for that. I'm going to do a quick screen share here again, everyone. All right, so back here at Treat Lyme by Marty Ross MD. So many of you, if you're wondering how do you diagnose Babesia or how do you diagnose Bartonella or how do you diagnose Lyme, I have a section in my online Lyme guide, which is called How to Diagnose, okay? And so, for instance, here's information I have about how do you diagnose Bartonella, and here is my information about how do you diagnose Babesia. In this article, I also explain why you wouldn't necessarily rely on testing and what the common symptoms are that a person would have, okay? So if you want to review what I was just talking about, that's where you would go to do it, all right? All right, there we go. All right, thanks for that question again. All right, hello, Georgie. Okay, everyone, this is our chance to talk about coronavirus. I thought there would be a question tonight, and here it is. Hi, Georgie, and I think I know which Georgie you are, by the way. So, hi, I live in Epping, Sydney, where there has been a coronavirus outbreak. Or breakout, as you're saying, and from Australia. The local school had been shut down, just wondering what precautions I should take. Okay. So first of all, at the end of this, I'm going to show you an article that I just published this morning so that you can take a look at this later, okay? And so this is something that I have been investigating and looking into for the last few days since we got our own big outbreak of it here in Seattle, Washington, okay? All right. So first of all, what I want to let you know is in general, across the world, the chances of actually getting this, even if you have an outbreak in your community, is quite small and remote. I want to say that again. Even here in Seattle, Washington, where we are having a quote unquote outbreak, there are very small numbers of people that actually have this. Okay. All right. When we look at things about the coronavirus, I want to urge caution because people are getting, I think, very, very upset about this. And the truth is, the majority of people that get the coronavirus actually have mild to moderate symptoms, and they're able to get over this without any complications. If we look at what information tells us, especially based on what's coming out of China, where it started first, 86% of people that get this illness have a mild or moderate presentation of it, okay? 16% of people across the world, and this is heavily skewed towards what happened in China, 16% will have complications or a complicated course, all right? 16%. That means 84% of people tend to handle this virus very well, okay? The other thing that people are getting scared by is the death rate from it. So the death rate estimates, and I have read a number of these, the estimates range from anywhere from 1.4% to 3.4%. That's a big range, okay? I'm going to compare it though to the flu. The flu in any season has a death rate of 0.1 to 0.2%. So yes, it looks like this coronavirus is scarier and more deadly than what the flu is, but I want to let you know, those numbers are greatly inflated. And I think in the years and months to come ahead, we're going to see more evidence that says that death rate that now looks like a 1.4 to 3.4% is a lot lower, and it may even approach the death rate that we see with the flu of 0.1 to 0.2. Now, why can I say that? Okay, why am I saying that? Well, right now, there's a lot of people that we have only had testing recently that proves if a germ is in somebody. And the people that have been getting tested are people that have a lot of symptoms, okay? But remember what I just said, there's a lot of people out there that have mild to moderate symptoms. In fact, there's a lot of people out there that may not even have any symptoms of this. And if we eventually are able to develop testing, antibody testing, where we can tell what people were infected and be able to tell even people that never developed major symptoms, once we start determining how many people actually had this, I think we're going to see that the numbers of people that got it, which will include people that had mild to no symptoms at all, is going to be a big pool of people, of which the majority don't have any problems. And so when we start accurately capturing who had the illness, and it includes all those people that we're not aware of because they just didn't have enough symptoms to go get tested, once we do that, we're going to see the death rate go down. Also, the fact that 16% of people in China, which is predominantly China, have had complications from this, again, is heavily skewed towards people that present with symptoms. And again, we have a lot of people out there that may be getting it that just don't have significant symptoms. It just looks to them like maybe a common cold or a little bit of a cough, for instance, okay? And finally, the world statistics that we're all seeing right now about coronavirus, again, are heavily skewed to what happened in China. China has a lot of smokers, much more so than we do here in the US. Georgie, I can't comment about what you have in Australia. I'm just not familiar with it. And I suspect, though, you do not have the smoking rate that they do in China. In China, it is men that have been greatly affected more so than women when it comes to people with complications. And the reason is in China, a lot more men smoke than what women do. Smoking leads to lung injury and lung damage. And then when you get a coronavirus infection that can affect the lungs, these are people that are getting the coronavirus infection on top of already having lung injury or lung damage, okay? So in China, the reason we're seeing such a complication rate may be related more to the amount of smokers in the population, okay? All right. So I just want to say, yes, there is a supposed death rate of 1.4 to 3.4%. I think that's way overestimating what we'll find in the end to be the true death rate. The 86% of people at this point appear to handle this virus just fine. And I suspect over time, we're going to learn that actually that's going to be republished and it's going to be up in the 90s that will have 90% range. Okay. And then finally, the people that reason that things would look so bad in China may be related more to their smoking. Okay. Now, does that mean we just need to give up and let everyone get coronavirus? No, I'm not saying that, but I just want to put this in perspective. Okay. All right. Now, what about the person with Lyme? Does the person with Lyme have some reason to be more concerned than the person that doesn't have Lyme? Because, people with Lyme, for some people with Lyme, there is immune dysregulation, and it may make it difficult. In theory, it could make it difficult for their immune system to handle this. And so they may be a person that might have more problems. Okay. Some people wonder that. Okay. What I will tell you is we have, although people with Lyme may have immune dysregulation, that is because the Lyme germ is releasing chemicals into the body to prevent the immune system from going after it. Okay. All right. The Lyme germ may not be causing universal suppression or dysregulation of the immune system against other germs. It may be just against the Lyme germ. For instance, in my practice, I do not see that people that have flu or that people with Lyme tend to get the flu at any greater frequency than people that don't have Lyme. In my practice, I tend to see that people that get the flu that have Lyme do not have any worse outcome than people that don't have the flu. All right. So although Lyme can cause some immune dysregulation, that does not necessarily mean it is immune dysregulation against all infections. Okay. All right. So that's kind of some background on it. Okay. So what do you do? All right. So what do you do? So again, I'm talking to you from a place where we're currently having a small outbreak. All right. So the first thing you want to do is you want to limit your ability to get it. All right. All right. And so what that means is you want to decrease your chances of getting it. All right. So what public health officials tell us, and I agree with this, is one of the ways to do that is stand at least 3 feet to 6 feet away from people that appear to be ill. That might be coughing or sneezing. Stand away from them. Get away from them, okay? Because when they're coughing or sneezing, they may be shooting out respiratory droplets that contain some of the virus. But if you're standing at least 3 to 6 feet back, your chances of getting those respiratory droplets on you goes down greatly, okay? So number one, create distance. Number two, wash your hands a lot, okay? And that means washing your hands with hot water and soap. You don't necessarily need these fancy hand sanitizers, okay? The act of scrubbing your hands with regular soap and water removes bacteria. And you want to scrub them for 20 minutes, all right? So throughout the day, especially if you've been outside, out of your normal living environment, when you come back, wash your hands, all right? Here in my office, I wash my hands very frequently, all right? All right. And the reason you're doing that is you're washing off any contact with the virus that you might have had, okay? Number three, avoid touching your face, your eyes, your nose, your mouth with your hands, okay? Now, why is that? Well, with your hands, if you're out in the world, you may be touching surfaces that somebody sneezed or coughed on that have some of these respiratory droplets of viruses, all right? But if you then wind up touching them to your eyes, your mouth, and your nose, those are the places that you get entry of the virus into the body. So if you limit touching your face in those areas, you then limit the chances of getting it, okay? All right. So in terms of what to do about it, number one, try not to get it, all right? So stand away from people, wash your hands frequently, and then limit contact to your face to get so that you don't necessarily transmit it through touching your hands to your mucous membranes, okay? All right. Finally, the other thing that another thing that you might want to do is lifestyle things. Okay, so keep in mind your immune system is what's going to have to deal with this. All right, and I'm going to say more about the immune system here in a minute. But there's some good lifestyle measures that help your immune system do well. One of those is get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Now, don't forget to do that. Even with all the fear about this coronavirus, get sleep. Okay. Number two, try to lower stress and anxiety and emotional toxins in your life. Stress, anxiety, and emotional toxins are some of the biggest suppressors of your immune system. And no matter what you take to boost your immune system, if you are living in stress, constant anxiety, and fear, that may suppress your immune system in a way that the immune system is going to have a hard time fighting this, okay? So find things that give you joy. Meditate if that works for you. Talk to a counselor. visit with friends. Visiting with friends is a way of adding joy into our life, okay? But find ways to de-stress and detoxify emotional toxins in your life, all right? All right, so then the third thing that people can consider doing is to try to boost the part of the immune system that will have to confront this virus if you should happen to get it, all right? All right, so let me talk about that. So our immune systems can be divided into two parts. There's something called the innate immune system, and then there's another part of the immune system that I'll call the adaptive, or the part of the immune system that has learned to treat infections before, okay? So the innate immune system is the part of the immune system that basically is what deals with viruses and bacteria that we have never learned to fight before, all right? And it includes things like your skin that acts as a barrier, your mucous membranes, and that it includes also a number of immune cells like macrophages, natural killer cells, something called dendritic cells, and a group of cells called phagocytes, okay? And there are some things that we know from the flu and other viruses that we can do to turn on the innate immune system, all right? Now, the innate immune system compares with the acquired immune system or the learned immune system, okay? All right, so that part of the immune system is made up of white blood cells like T cells, and it's also made up of antibodies. So for instance, when you get a vaccine, it is triggering the acquired immune system. Your immune system will wind up making antibodies against that thing you get a vaccine for, okay? And your immune system that currently helps you deal with the Lyme infection that's in you is the acquired immune system, which is a separate arm of the immune system than this innate immune system, okay? So if I've looked at the science, as I looked at this, and I've looked at flu and I've looked at other viruses, we can learn some things. So here's some things that can help with your innate immune system. Number one, vitamin A, 5,000 international units a day, reinforces and makes stronger your ability of your mucous membranes, like your nose, your mouth, and your lungs, to fight and keep infections out, okay? Vitamin A, 5,000 international units a day. Second thing is vitamin D, and I usually suggest people take 5,000 international units a day of that. And what vitamin D does is it regulates inflammation in the immune system. It also turns on the innate immune system's ability to make antiviral and antibiotic proteins that attack germs, okay? If we look at studies about the flu as an example, people that take vitamin D supplementation regularly going into the flu, if they get the flu, they have a 50% reduction in the severity of the symptoms compared to people that don't take vitamin D, okay? Now, one caution about vitamin D, you can get toxic on it. So probably after a month or 6 weeks of taking 5,000 international units a day, you want to get your vitamin D levels checked, and you want to try to keep them somewhere between 50 and 80. And I have this written down, okay? All right. Another thing that you could consider doing is to take a product made by Research Nutritionals called transfer factor multi-immune. So transfer factors are proteins that will turn on certain cells in the immune system. And this transfer factor multi-immune is designed to turn on one of the innate immune cells called natural killer cells, okay? And Research Nutritionals has done a limited study looking at this, and they found that their product increases natural killer cell activity by 600%, okay? That's pretty good. And so I usually would suggest a person takes that as one pill 2 times a day. One other group of chemicals that has been shown to turn on a majority of the cells in the innate immune system, like macrophages, phagocytes, dendritic cells, and even natural killer cells, are what are called beta-glucans. Beta-glucans are sugars that are found in mushrooms, okay? So I also suggest that people take a type of mushroom called reishi mushrooms, 400 milligrams, 1 pill, 3 times a day, all right? And then finally, there is some compelling evidence that shows if you raise glutathione levels, that your dendritic immune cells, the dendritic innate immune cells that are part of that barrier that help fight viruses for the first time, that they will function better. And so there are ways you can do that. You can either take N-acetylcysteine, which is a building block for glutathione, 500 milligram pill 3 times a day, or you can take a liposomal variety of glutathione, like a Research Nutritionals Trifortify product, and I would do 1 teaspoon 1 time a day. All right. So if you want to throw the whole full court press at things you can do to boost your innate immune system, you would do vitamin A, 5,000 international units a day, vitamin D, 5,000 international units a day, transfer factor multi-immune, 1 pill twice a day, reishi mushrooms, 400 milligrams 3 times a day, and you would either do N-acetylcysteine or glutathione. All right. That's if you want to do everything. Okay. Now, do I have any proof that this works in people with Lyme and coronavirus? The answer is no, because we have no research on it. However, what I can tell you, the research that shows that these do help the innate immune system work better, which is your first line against these new viruses, is pretty compelling. This is what turns on the innate immune system, okay? If resources are an issue, I would focus on the vitamin D. I would focus on either taking transfer factor multi-immune or taking the reishi mushrooms, and then I would take either the N-acetylcysteine and the glutathione, all right? So those are my ideas. I know it's a lot of information. I have written it down, but I just want to try to dispel. There's a lot of myth and hype out there right now and fear going on about something that the majority of people, even with Lyme, will handle very well. I wanted to say that, okay? The death rate that supposedly is out there, 1.4 to 3.4%, is very inflated. I think it's going to be a lot lower than that. And I think that we know, at least even out of China, that the majority of people, this is a minor to a moderate infection. And I just want to let people know that as well, too. Okay. All right. And then practice good public health measures like washing your hands, standing away from people that might be infectious, and stop touching your face with your hands frequently. Okay. Finally, don't forget to do the lifestyle things about getting sleep and de-stressing. Okay. Those are my thoughts on it. Let me go ahead and do a quick screen share so that I can show you where this article is. All right, so back here in, take a look at my section on the immune system. And there is my coronavirus update article. And I describe again what to do about the severity of it, public health measures you can do, ways to support the innate immune system. And then I give you the specific recommendations down here too, okay? All right, there you go. Thanks for the question, Georgie. I'm sorry when that was really long-winded, but I wanted to address all of those concerns tonight too. All right. Thanks, Judy, for your good wishes about my illness 2 weeks ago. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Hello, Christine. Let's see. What lab test well water for mycotoxins? Huh. That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't had the situation where I've wanted to test well water to see if there are mycotoxins in them. I would have to make some calls to even look at that. But what I would do is, you could do those calls, okay? So one of the labs that tests for mycotoxins is Great Plains Lab out of Kansas City. Just Google Great Plains Lab. There'll be a telephone number. I'm sure you can give them a call and ask them if they do it, okay? The other lab that tests for mycotoxins is a lab out of Texas called Real Time Labs. You can Google them, find their telephone number, and give them a call and ask them too, okay? All right. Good luck to you, Christine. Hello, Charlene. Hi, Dr. Ross. Glad you're over the bacterial infection. Thank you. Me too. And glad you're at home and back into your practice. Parents gone for 10 years, so got the Rubbermaid container and got rid of hospital and house and all stuff of the nature. But while reading personal things, came across this. Dad was at St. Ralph. Let me see. I think I see another part to this. Hold on here a minute. I'll try this part. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. Glad you're over the bacteria. Let's see. Your dad was at St. Ralph's. He was in St. Raphael's for 2 weeks in New Haven, Connecticut with encephalitis. And while there, they put him on IV of adenine arabinoside. And he noted that it really helped chronic Lyme and polymyalgia. Any thoughts on that? And was this probably 15 or 20 years ago? Wow. I have no thoughts on that. I'm not familiar with the medication at all. So I'm sorry, I can't comment on that. All right. Good luck to you, Charlene. Hello, Marie Eve. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. I saw an infectious disease specialist here in Quebec. He tested me for Lyme, Babesia, and Bartonella, which were all negative results. But my IGeneX Lyme test result from a few years ago is positive. This microbiologist seems to think his tests are reliable. How come? I also asked him to test for Epstein-Barr, cytomegalo, Helicobacter pylori, and parasites. Should he be able to help me with something? I have a second question. Do you know anything about KPU, and does detoxifying from heavy metals helpful in recovery according to your experience? Okay, so first of all, KPU, I know that there is a physician here in the Seattle area, Dietrich Klinghardt, that is a big proponent of the idea that you can have KPU or cryptopyloruria, and that it is the reason people don't get well and have similar symptoms to Lyme. I frankly I see it rarely, and I don't see much benefit from treating for it. So I think for the majority of people, it is not an issue at all. Okay. Can detoxifying heavy metals help? So I usually in my treatments will work on doing a bunch of other things like getting Lyme under control, correcting sleep, fixing hormones, treating Lyme and the various co-infections. And fixing the adrenals, getting yeast out, doing all those basic steps that you find in the Ross Lyme support protocol. If I do all of those and about 6 to 9 months, somebody is not getting better, then I'm going to start looking for other things that could be holding them back. One of those is heavy metal toxicity. What happens with heavy metals like lead and mercury is if we breathe them in, drink them in, eat them in, most of them we pee out, but some of them get stored in our cells and in our tissues. And in the cells and in the tissues, they bind to enzymes in our cell energy factories called mitochondria. So every one of our cells has an energy system called mitochondria. There's 300 to 400 of them. And inside mitochondria is where sugar and fat are burned through a bunch of chemical reactions to create cell fuel. And those chemical reactions are all governed and monitored by enzymes. And those enzymes are rich in sulfur, and heavy metals bind to sulfur. Okay. Now, if they bind to the sulfur on those enzymes, you don't get good energy reactions and that are supposed to be creating energy in the cells, basically. Okay. So I will start looking to see, do you have heavy metals? But I'm usually going to look at it in about 6 to 9 months in as one of the things I'll do if somebody's not recovering, doing the basic steps of the Ross Lyme support protocol. Okay. All right. And the way to test for heavy metals is we want to know what's in your cells. And so to do that, we have to draw them out. And the way to do that is to take a chelation agent first and then collect your urine for about 6 hours. Okay, that's called a chelation challenged test. All right. Now, I cannot tell you why your infectious disease doctor is not wanting to look in a more deep way at you. I can't say that. And I don't know enough about your symptoms to say, should you be looked at for EBV, CMV, and Helicobacter? I can't tell from this. Okay. What I can tell you is the test that he would have done in Canada is similar to the majority of testing that is done here in the States, and that your physician would have done a test, which is called a two-step test. The two-step test uses something called an ELISA, and if it is positive, then it's confirmed by doing something called a Western blot. And let me talk about that. The ELISA test is a test that looks to say, could you have antibodies in you that are made against the Lyme germ? And but when it comes back positive, sometimes it incorrectly is actually identifying antibodies that are made against other infections. So when it comes back positive, we need to confirm if those antibodies really were made against the Lyme infection, okay? Now the ELISA as a screening test will miss chronic Lyme 50% of the time, all right? And if it doesn't come back positive, you don't even get to go and do the next better test, which is the Western blot. So if he did the standard two-step test, he probably did the ELISA, and if it came back negative, he would say you don't have Lyme, but keep in mind, it misses it 50% of the time. Okay, for that reason, most of us that are treating chronic Lyme do not even start with the ELISA test, okay? All right. Now, even if he did then do the Western blot, which is a test we use to confirm if you have Lyme, the way that it is conducted is basically we kill a bunch of Lyme germs, we take their proteins, and we then put them on a test strip, run electricity through that test strip, which moves the proteins based on their weight. So you'll have a bunch of proteins that all weigh the same amount falling out at the same place on the test strip, okay? And we identify where those proteins fall out on the test strip based on what they weigh, which some people call the bands, okay, all right? So there, for instance, there's a band 39 and a band 41. All the proteins that weigh 39 kilodaltons fall out at band 39, and all the proteins that weigh 41 kilodaltons fall out at band 41. Okay, that's where we come up with those things, all right? And the way that test technique is done in Canada and in the majority of labs down here is they're looking to see if you have antibodies against only 3 proteins for what is known as an IgM family of antibodies, and they're looking to see if we have them against 10 for what is known as the IgG family, all right? Now, there's better ways to test for Lyme. So first of all, that Western blot that they're doing in Canada and even here in the United States, the standard test kits here in the States, only use one strain of Lyme that was first discovered in the East Coast in the 70s, all right? Now, we have many more kinds of Lyme than that original strain that was first described in the East Coast in the 70s, all right? So other labs have looked at, should we use more than one strain? So for instance, IGeneX with its Western blot uses 2 strains of Lyme germs, all right? And most recently, IGeneX, about a year and a half ago, came up with a new test, which is something called an immunoblot, where they're now looking to see if we have antibodies against 8 kinds of Lyme. And that probably is our best test now. That test, according to IGeneX in-house testing, will find 95% of Lyme cases when it's there. The IGeneX Western blot technique that uses 2 strains of Lyme germs has been shown to find about 80% of cases when they're there. And the standard Western blot done by Health Canada and actually here in the States using test kits approved by the Food and Drug Administration, which tests against just 1 strain of Lyme germ, finds it about 60%, okay? So your doctor is ignoring the science. He's ignoring what the real world is happening and the fact there are many more strains, and he's behind the times, unfortunately. All right. So anyhow, those are my thoughts on that. Marie-Eve, if you want to look at I'm going to give you some more information about quality of Lyme testing here. I'm going to do a quick screen test to show that to you. I'm sorry, a screen share. All right, so here we are back at my Lyme disease information site, Treat Lyme by Marty Ross MD, okay? Take a look at my section on tests. And in here, I have an article where I review the major ways of testing for Lyme, okay? And it even includes information about that new immunoblot test that I was telling you about. Take a look at this. I describe the possibilities of all of these various tests at finding Lyme. Okay, all right. Thanks, Marie. Good luck to you. Hello, Bettina. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. As usual, thank you for doing this. You're welcome. As many here tonight are likely quite concerned about meeting with COVID-19, I would like to hear your thoughts on how it may react with the. Oh, I already shared that earlier with you. And again, my comments that I said would apply to any kind of Lyme, whether it's chronic neurologic or whatever Lyme it is. Okay, so I talked about that earlier, and take a look at the article that I wrote about it earlier today too. Okay, all right. Thanks, Bettina. Good luck to you. Hello, Lori. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm glad I'm feeling better too. All right. Hello, Joyce. Let's see. Welcome back, Dr. Ross. We missed you and hope you are feeling better. I started, thank you. I appreciate that. I started Sida Acuta almost 3 weeks ago and would like to add in Houttuynia. My body is very sensitive to many drugs and remedies, so I am cautious when starting something new. At what point do I add in Houttuynia, and do I swallow it at the same time as Sida Acuta? Is it best taken with or without food? I'm currently up to 3 drops in the morning and 3 drops at night. What reactions might I expect? Thank you so much. Okay, so first of all, you can take Sida Acuta and Houttuynia directly at the same time. You can either squirt them directly in your mouth, or you can put them in water and drink them. Okay. Both the herbs are better if they are taken on an empty stomach, but at times, if there's no other way to get the stuff in, take it with food. It will still work. You may just slightly decrease the absorption of it. All right. In terms of what you're on, I think you're trying to say you're on 3 drops in the morning and 3 drops at night of the Sida Acuta because you want to add the Houttuynia. I got it. You could add it now. What you might want to do is stay at your current dose. If I were seeing you in my practice, I'd probably have you, given that you've described yourself as being sensitive, I would probably have you stay at the Sida Acuta 3 drops twice a day and start by adding Houttuynia 1 drop twice a day, and every other day try to increase it by 1 drop per dose until you reach that 3 drops twice a day that you're doing with the Sida Acuta. Once you have done that and you seem to be tolerating it well, then I would start increasing both of them at the same time by 1 drop per dose every other day, trying to see if you can reach 30 drops twice a day. Now, you may not be able to. There's times that people can only get up to 10 drops twice a day or 20 drops twice a day. And if that's so, it's still going to work. Basically, what determines reason sometimes people are very sensitive to medicines is they have a hard time detoxing them out. And what detoxing out means, that's how quickly you remove something that you've put in. All right. Now, what determines whether something kills germs is how much is in your blood. And that's determined by 2 things. That's determined by how much do we take and how quickly do we remove it. All right. So if you have impaired detox, you may not be removing the stuff that quickly. Therefore, you don't need to take as much to get a high drug level. I have had patients in my practice, especially with Bartonella, where I've only used 1 drop twice a day on Sida Acuta and Houttuynia and gotten them well. 1 drop twice a day. All right. So for those of you, I should have said at the beginning, those of you that are not familiar with Houttuynia and Sida Acuta, they are 2 herbs that are recommended by Buhner, as in Buhner herbs, to treat Bartonella. And I have incorporated them into my protocol because I think they work fairly well. They work about 70 to 75% of the time to treat Bartonella, which compares with prescription options that work about 80 to 85% of the time. Okay. So anyhow, those are my thoughts on that. In terms of reactions you might expect, I mean, anything can happen. I mean, you can get Herxheimer type reactions. You can get more fatigue, body pain, etc. You're just going to have to gauge how you react and decide whether you're going to go up or not. Okay. All right. If you do start reacting, hold until that reaction passes and then gradually start increasing again. All right. All right. Let me just do a quick screen share here for everyone that's not familiar with these 2 herbs. I want to show you where you can find information on it. All right, so take a look back in my online treatment guide. look under infection treatment plans, and then take a look at my article called Kills Bartonella, a Brief Guide. All right. And then down here, you can find information about the Houttuynia and Sida Acuta in this tier 3 treatment area. Up above, I also provide other examples of how to mix antibiotics that I have found helpful to treat Bartonella. Okay. All right. Joyce, good luck to you. Thank you for that question. Hello, Amir. Let's see. Hi, doctor. Do you have any thoughts on tick-borne test panel from Vibrant Wellness, given that it costs $500, $600 and includes Lyme and most co-infections? I don't. I haven't been using them. I'm quite happy with what I see from IGeneX. I think their IGeneX Immunoblot is still the best test out there at this point in terms of determining Lyme. I have not found a reason to look at the Vibrant Wellness, and I don't know enough about whether they validated their test. Okay, that's the problem with some of these new labs, is that they're running labs and they've come up with their own techniques, but they haven't done the work to prove how effective their test is at correctly determining the illness. So but IGeneX usually will take their test and they'll look at to try to determine of known cases, what is their success rate at finding a no case. Some of these newer labs, like a Vibrant, I don't know if Vibrant has done that or not, but I would need to find out. So I can't comment specifically about them. All right. Thank you. Hello, Geraldine. Let's see. What is the difference between the wild root cat's claw and Samento? I think you mean WildCraft Herbs, cat's claw, and Samento. All right. So Samento is manufactured by a company called Nutramedix. It is cat's claw. All right. And it's something called TOA-free cat's claw. All right. They've removed an alkaloid chemical from the cat's claw. The WildCraft Herbs cat's claw does include alkaloids, and in addition, it is extracted into organic alcohol, and as much as possible, they try to wildcraft their herbs. The alcohol that they use at WildCraft Herbs is a very high concentration, and therefore you get a very strong extraction. In practical terms, when I have used both of these before, I find them to be equally effective, both products. The other major difference is that Nutramedix charges an arm and a leg for its products, and WildCraft Herbs has been much more reasonable in their charges. Regrettably, one of the products that I used to get from WildCraft Herbs, which is Otoba bark, they've lost their supply source, and we just don't know when they're going to get their supply source back. And so at this point, the only other manufacturer that I trust with Otoba is Nutramedix, and their Otoba product is called Banderol. And I like using Otoba and cat's claw together as my main herbal treatment for treating Lyme. I find those two together work about 85 to 90% of the time. Okay. All right. So I hope that gives you some information there. Good luck to you, Geraldine. Hello, Sue. Let me see. There we go. Hi, Sue. Let's see. Do you recommend taking 250 milligram tablets of chloroquine phosphate? And if so, what dosage and at what point in the coronavirus illness? No, I don't recommend it. I have no reason to believe that would be an effective treatment. Okay. All right. Again, there is no studies that show that anything is effective at killing this virus. The best place to go is to do things that are practical to prevent getting it, as I discussed earlier, and do things that will help your immune system work best if you should get it, okay? And that means, again, the lifestyle things of sleep and de-stressing. And then finally, there's a number of herbs that may boost your body's innate immune system's ability to fight this thing, okay? All right. Thank you, Sue, for that question. Let's see. Hello, Judy. Let's see. What are your thoughts on the GI map test? So I don't use it, so it's hard for me to comment. I have other labs that I like to do GI analysis for me. I like using a full GI panel from Great Plains lab. I will like using the full stool study and evaluation for GI function from Genova Diagnostics. All right, but I just don't have experience working with the GI map test. All right, thanks, Judy. All right, hold on here a minute, Amir. Let's see. Amir says, I would love to book a video consultation with you, but I was wondering, why can't you prescribe med or order labs for remote patients? I don't have any doctor who can prescribe or order labs. So I have to deal with my medical board. All right. My medical board looks very unfavorably at doctors that prescribe without ever examining a person directly. All right. So at this point, because I want to keep my medical license, as many of you know, I've had my fights with my medical board to keep my medical license. And now that I got it again, or that I'm holding on to it, I'm not willing to let it go. And the reason I want to hold on to it is so I can keep helping people. All right. So unfortunately, Amir, medical board who gives me my license in Washington State would be very upset if I started handing out prescribing antibiotics and ordering tests without first laying my hands on somebody and examining them. Okay. All right. I will. Yeah. Anyhow, that's what I would say about that. All right. Thank you for that question. Let's see. Hi, Michelle. Let's see. Lyme relapse and my symptoms and parts are bad. Is this normal? If you're having a Lyme relapse and your original Lyme had POTS as part of it, that could be normal. So let me tell you what I mean by that. Usually when people get a relapse, it's going to look like the original situation all over again, or a varying degrees of the original set of symptoms that you had, okay? Usually it will, all right? I would need to ask you a lot more questions to try to figure out if this is normal for a relapse in you, but those are just my general comments on that, okay? All right, good luck to you. Charlene has asked me the same question a number of times. I'm just trying to clear it out of the way here. Bear with me, everyone. All right, here we go. Hello, Maria. Let's see. Hello, Dr. Ross. Thank you for your help. I would like to know to decide when and how to end my herbal protocol for Bartonella and mold toxicity. I have been doing herbs 3 weeks on, 3 days off for Bartonella for 1.5 years and still have symptoms during the 3-day off period. Tingling foot, crawling sensation on head, some fatigue. I recently started Baluchi for cyst. I hope to stop mold toxicity protocol if my Great Plains lab comes back normal for mold. Thoughts? So first of all, Baluchi doesn't treat cyst. Baluchi is an enzyme also known as lubrikinase. Lubrikinase is an enzyme that can help break down biofilms, all right? So it's not going to treat cyst, although some cyst forms of the Lyme germ will live in biofilms, but it directly is breaking down biofilms. In terms of your symptoms, to be able to answer this more accurately, I would need to ask you a lot more questions, because I'm not sure if, number one, the Bartonella treatment didn't work, which is why you're getting symptoms back so quickly. I mean, there's a whole host of things I would need to know. I could only figure out by asking you a lot more questions. So I can't answer the rest of this question. If you would like some more direct input from me, I'd be glad to do that by doing one of my consult service visits where I can ask you all of those questions. Let me just show you how you would find information about that. All right, so this is I'm going to go. This is my clinic website, Marty Ross MD, at martyrossmd.com. My practice is called Marty Ross MD Healing Arts. You can get to this either by typing in Marty Ross MD Healing Arts, or on my Lyme disease information site, if you just click clinic, you can get to it as well too. Okay, or at my supplement store, if you click clinic, you can get to my clinic as well too. All right. All right. So now if you take a look at this appointments page, and in here I say that there are two types of appointments you can have. You can either get a full medical service or a limited consult service. This is the one you want to look at. You can read about the limited consult service here, including what I can and cannot do in that type of a visit. And then there's this section down here that includes forms that you need to fill out and send to me ahead of the visit. And also you'll find information about the cost here as well too. Okay. All right. All right. Maria, good luck to you. Hello, Galaxy. Sorry. Also, would you be treating the CPN, which I think you mean Chlamydia pneumoniae, Lyme, or Bart first? So, and then okay. And then you say, I know some antibiotics overlap for them. Is it better to treat first Lyme first or Bartonella? All right. So with Lyme and Bartonella and Chlamydia pneumoniae, there's actually a regimen you could put together that would treat all three at the same time. And that involves using rifampin coupled with either azithromycin or clarithromycin or doxycycline or minocycline. Okay. So rifampin with any one of those four medicines would be a full Lyme germ treatment, would treat Chlamydia pneumoniae, and would handle Bartonella as well too. Okay? All right. Good luck to you, Gail. Hello, Marie E. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. The Dr. Zhang protocol suggests Artemisia every day, 3 times per day for 40 to 80 days. 40 to 80 days. Just heard of the 3-day on, 11-day off suggestion. Can I use Dr. Zhang's Artemisia product and do the 3 days on, 11 days off of the protocol? His capsules each contain 350 milligrams of Artemisia, so not artemesinin. So the answer is you could, but I don't know. I've never investigated what the equivalency is between artemesinin and Artemisia. In other words, is 350 milligrams of Artemisia equivalent to taking 100 milligrams of artemisinin? Okay. And therefore, I can't tell you what constitutes high dose. I'm not familiar with working with that herbal compound from him. Okay. All right. The concern is you want to make sure that on the 3 days you're doing it, that you're doing a really high dose. And I don't know what a really high dose would be of the Artemisia. I just haven't worked with it before. Okay. All right. Thanks for the question. Hello, Mary Lynn. Let's see. I'm in remission from Lyme, so I'm asking about COVID-19. All right. I think I have ants. Yeah. Well, let me see here. Isn't it worse than flu and can be spread by people not very sick to more vulnerable? Don't a lot of people not report flu as well? Flu question refers to your email earlier saying a lot of cases aren't reported of COVID-19. So, Marilyn, everything I know that I would suggest about that, I put in the email. One of the things that I did say in that article is that many experts actually believe that COVID-19 is harder to transmit than what the flu actually is. Okay? All right. So anyhow, I would take a relook at that again. All right. Thank you. All right. So another question from Mary Lynn. Let's see. Related to my previous question, I have a virus right now. It's mild, and I honestly don't know what it is as viruses go. So could I possibly have it and never test positive? I have had mild symptoms. Have had mild symptoms of COVID-19. Okay. So people that's right now, from what we understand, COVID-19 usually is going to give a temperature. And usually is going to give more lung or bronchial kind of cough, not a postnasal drip, not from dripping going down and you got to clear that, but it is coming from the lungs and has sensation down here. Is it possible that people just have nasal congestion and have it? It is, but we don't know enough about that to know for sure or not. Right now, the testing guidelines are calling for testing people that have either had that have respiratory symptoms of any kind, that have had contact with somebody that has the virus or have recently traveled to areas where there's a big outbreak in China or abroad, or who have developed respiratory symptoms with a fever and cough. Most of the guidelines that are out there in public health departments that are doing the testing require more of the fever and cough. So at this point, I don't think you'd even qualify for testing, to be quite honest. Now, I will tell you, the testing right now is being done through public health department labs, and each public health department has developed its own criterion and ways to get the testing done. So this isn't something you're just going to walk into a lab core with a doctor's order to get the test done. Okay? All right. Good luck to you, Marilyn. Hello, CB. Let's see, do you have any comments on minerals and absorption issues with chronic infections and illness? I definitely have chronic adrenal problems. I feel thirsty most of the time despite adding trace minerals and electrolytes to water, but still feel dehydrated. I can take magnesium in large amounts frequently with no loose stools. I have leg cramps and muscle aches daily, often very painful. It seems I just don't absorb the minerals well. My nails are riddled with vertical ridges with splinter hemorrhages and random fissures in the skin surrounding the nail bed. I just don't know if this is the same condition random to me you see with various infections. I would love your thoughts. Plus, you rock. Thank you. No matter how much water they drink. Okay. So it seems to be a symptom of the illness for some people. Now, in some of those people, they actually have a problem with water. And the way to find out and blood osmolality. And then you have to look at the aldosterone levels and the urine and the blood to figure out if this is a problem with your body's ability through the kidneys and hormones to correctly regulate your holding of water in the body. Okay. All right. The other thing to look at is make sure that somebody's checked your blood sugar levels to make sure you're not diabetic and peeing out a lot of water and therefore thirsty all the time for that. Now, it is possible that some people do have absorption issues and they don't get enough minerals. there's two ways to check and see if you are having a mineral problem, meaning not being able to get enough minerals in you. One is to do a very expensive blood test done by a company called SpectraCell, where they actually look at the true mineral levels inside of your blood cells, okay? A lower cost way to do it is to get a hair mineral analysis. And the lab that is doing that is a company called Trace Elements. And we send them a hair analysis and the hair sample, and the hair sample actually reflects what is going on in your cells as well too, okay? Anyhow, those are the ways to look to see if it is a real problem, okay? All right. Thank you for the question, CV. Hello, pause. Let's see. Can you have air hunger, shortness of breath with other co-infections or Lyme, or just Babesia? So air hunger is a symptom you can see predominantly with Babesia, but also can occur in Bartonella. All right. So it can occur in both of those, is what my experience says. All right. All right. Thanks for the question. Good luck to you. Hello, Pauls. Let's see. Bartonella. What is your suggestion for severe insomnia? All right. So I've got a whole article written on what to do about sleep. And because there's so much detail I have in that, and I'm starting to run short on time to go through all the questions, I'm going to show you that article where you can get information. Okay. So I'm going to do a screen share here. Oops, I did that wrong. Hold on a minute. All right, take a look over in my Lyme disease information site, the Treat Lyme by Marty Ross MD. I have a chapter on sleep. Okay. And there's some basic steps you should do that are lifestyle steps. You'll find those in this article. You could look at the herbs I recommend, but if it is a severe problem, I would go directly and look at the prescription ideas I have for, or the ideas I have for prescription medicines. Okay. All right. Thank you for that question, Paul. Hello, Dennis. Let's see. With Bartonella Babesia being aerobic organisms, will IV ozone 10 pass treatments worsen the infections? I don't know. I don't have enough experience working with it to know if they do. I will also let you know I am not a big believer in ozone. I don't think it kills anything. I know my colleagues all out there doing it, and they're got these machines in their offices, and they're getting you to pay them big money to do their IV ozone, but or even 10 pass ozone. But let me talk about it real quick, okay? So ozone, everyone, if you put ozone can kill germs. If you put it on a petri dish or you add it to a test tube that has a bunch of germs, it'll kill them. It's an oxidizing agent. Oxidizing agents work by damaging membranes of the germs and also the genetic material, and they can kill in that kind of a setting. I agree with that, okay? But if you go ahead and run the experiments and you put a minor amount of blood into the test tube first, and then you add your hydrogen peroxide or your ozone or any oxidizing agent, guess what happens? No germ killing at all. None, okay? And the reason is your blood is full of antioxidants that would quickly neutralize any killing effect of the ozone. And those test tube experiments tell us that, okay? Now, I don't doubt that some people feel better when they get ozone treatments, though. And there's a reason for that. One of the things that ozone can do is it can result in better oxygen delivery to your mitochondria, which are your energy factories. And if you get better oxygen delivery to the mitochondria, suddenly you get a burst of cell fuel production, and people can feel better for that reason, okay? But I think that the whole ozone and hydrogen peroxide and UV blood irradiation stuff, all of those oxidizing treatments are a complete hoax and waste of money. I do think people can feel better, but in the end, especially when they come back to me after they wasted all their money, they still have to ultimately go at killing their germs in another way. Okay? I have an article on that has references to back up the fact that they don't really kill germs and when you add blood. And so let me show you that article so you can take a look at what I'm talking about. All right, so take a look at, I think I have it in this section called anti-germs. Well, where did I put it? Let me see here. There it is. So just type ozone up here. And this is where I talk about ozone and all oxidative treatments. Down here at the bottom, you'll find my citations where I do quote and show you the one article that shows that if you put minor amounts of blood in the test tube, no killing happens. All right. All right. Thanks for the question. Hello, Kara. Let's see. What do you recommend for muscle cramps besides magnesium? So magnesium can go well. Magnesium causes muscle relaxing, and most people will get some benefit from it. You can dose it up to an amount that gives you diarrhea. Okay, so you can dose it like 600, 800, even 900 milligrams at night. The limiting factor with magnesium is it can sometimes give diarrhea. Okay, all right. Now, other things you can do for muscle cramps are more on the prescription medicine side. And one of the big ones would be a medicine called Robaxin, or you can use a prescription medicine called Flexeril. Most primary care doctors know how to use those medications. Okay. All right. Good luck to you. Let's see here. Hello, Cece. Let's see. Do you suggest using bioactive silver hydrosol for people with Lyme, Marcon diagnosis with sinus pain and migraines? If what is the dosage and duration of the use? So I've never found silver to actually give any meaningful killing in my practice. I have not. The other thing I want to let you know, I don't believe in treating Marcons, and let me explain that. So Marcons, everyone, is a type of it's methicillin-resistant coagulase negative staph, okay, which is an infection, a bacteria that lives in our noses. The guy that perpetuated this idea that we need to treat for it is Dr. Richie Shoemaker. Or Richie Shoemaker is the doctor that came up with the idea that 25% of all people cannot remove mold toxins and therefore become mold toxic. And I believe in that part of his theory. I think it's a very good theory. He's got good science that supports that is a real problem. In Dr. Shoemaker's system, if he removes those mold toxins and somebody doesn't get well, he then starts to look for other causes of ongoing inflammation. And the first thing he does in his system is to do a nasal swab to see if somebody might have this infection called Marcons. All right. Now, the problem with his theory is for most people, even though you can temporarily wipe the germ out, in most people, it always comes back, number one. Number two, even when you do wipe it out, I have not found anyone get meaningful improvements in their symptoms. I am now of the opinion that what Dr. Shoemaker is testing and finding in people is something that, yes, does live there, but I don't think it causes any real problems. Okay. So I don't believe in treating for Marcons for two reasons. I don't think it really causes a problem. And secondly, I've never found a good ability to get rid of it permanently. All right. Even Dr. Shoemaker off record will say similar things. He doesn't think he can get rid of it. I know Dr. Neil Nathan, who's another big doctor in treating for mold toxicity, who trained with Shoemaker, now no longer tries to go after Marcons either, because he thinks it's impossible to get rid of, and because it doesn't make any meaningful difference as well too. Okay. All right. Thanks for the question. Dr. Shoemaker is a doctor who has trained many people in this idea about Marcons, and that's why I've been mentioning him. Okay. All right. Listen, everyone, that's it. It's been a long evening, a long day here. So keep your eyes out tomorrow morning for information. I'll send out an email when I have edited up the video and got it published so everyone can take a look at that again. In that email, there will be links that you can use to sign up for next week's webinar. Okay. If you are finding benefit from these webinars, I'd appreciate you'd share about them with other people. Send those emails to other people. The more people that sign up, the more people I can educate and help. And I'm all about trying to help people with these illnesses. All right. And again, I know there's a lot of questions about coronavirus. Take a look at that article I wrote earlier. And again, this is an evolving field. We're all trying to understand this thing. Okay. All right. Good night, everyone, and good luck. Bye-bye.